So this is going to be my 60/50 presentation. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, to get my master's degree in mass communications at Texas Tech University, I made a documentary about my upcoming album, which turned into a lot more than that. You'll see that at the beginning of the documentary. It turned into a video of my redemption story, accepting Jesus Christ, which saved me from all of my addictions. But to make it applicable to school, I had to do a presentation after, which includes a couple songs. So this is the longer version. If you just want to see the documentary, that'll also be on my channel, but this is going to include the documentary, and then after that will be my full presentation that I performed and gave at Texas Tech University. So I hope you enjoy. It's going to start off with the documentary, and then right after is going to be my full presentation. This documentary is a promotion for the album, but it turned into a lot more than that. It turned into a celebration of where I've come from and where I'm at, and just a celebration of God and worshiping Him. Currently on the bathroom floor. This is the first video since all my videos got deleted. What's up? I just found some music to a song, and this song's about, you know, the things you can't get back and falling into wrongness and just repeating past mistakes and basically just, you know, celebrating the dark things that we all share and battling our humanity. How's it going? Check, check, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to my backyard here in Lubbock, Texas. I'm going to be giving myself an interview. Hopefully the wind isn't too windy or the cars are too loud. Basically, I got some questions here and I'm going to run through them and might just get on started. And throughout this, there will be clips from my addiction, my recovery, my sobriety, and basically this documentary just makes up a redemption story of me bridging the gap to God, to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And I hope that y'all can see the transformation in my life, and if you haven't already accepted Jesus in yours, that you can make that transition too. I'll go ahead and just start off with the first question. The first question is, what is addiction? The reason that I wanted to answer this question is because I've taken a couple of classes on addiction this final semester of grad school at Texas Tech University, and even in classes such as issues of addiction and adolescence and substance use disorder, it still seems that there isn't a clear example as to what addiction is. Guys, I am accepting applications for a personal advisor to advise on what I should eat every day. Specifically, I need someone to, you know, tell me not to eat Chick-fil-A for lunch. That's the main thing, is I actually have a problem. I've only eaten Chick-fil-A for lunch every day since being back at Tech. I need help. I'm definitely gonna get over this Chick-fil-A thing. I mean, if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get over it. And I believe that's because addiction is on a spiritual level, and that we can't quite see the entire scope of it from a research perspective. So, before I get into it, I'm gonna be right back. I need gloves, my hands are kind of cold. You can't look at addiction from the perspective of just research and numbers. And, you know, I think it's fair to say that even those in addiction research wouldn't just say that they're looking at numbers and figures. I'm sure that they do care, but I think what needs to be in the conversation about addiction is God. Because I believe that addiction is when your life becomes unmanageable because you're trying to rely on something else besides God to feel okay. So that's my definition of addiction. The next question I wanted to answer is, what is recovery? So I hope that through this documentary as well, that I can show just my recovery. And really this documentary, this video, even my music, I just want to show a transformation, especially this first album, my debut album, Bridging the Gap. And I'll explain what that means here in a little bit.
Rolling.
So I was looking back at some of the footage for the documentary, and I realized there was a little bit of a gap. So I wanted to talk about what addiction was like and what recovery is like. In my addiction, it was very confusing. I didn't know why I couldn't stay sober. I thought I was a bad person. But really, I have this disease that I am powerless over substances and other things without God's help. So this is why. Lee, you know that there's no need to drink. There's no need to smoke. There's no need to be anyone but yourself. You know who you are. Be productive. Be yourself. Better yourself. Right now you are fucked up and there is no need to be. Be the best person you can be and quit any form of intoxication. Just stop. This is the most serious thing you'll ever say. Just be done with it. You were happy with it without it. So this is why you'll see in these videos that I just am lost. So recovery is Jesus helping me out, fulfill my purpose, and now I get to head to a gig in Midland, Texas with my beautiful fiance Heather, and we're gonna play some songs. And that's just a small sliver of what recovery has to offer. Ultimately, you know, I stay sober, but more than that is a connection with God. And so you'll see in these clips here that I'm just enjoying life, and I get to enjoy life doing it the right way, without sinning, without making as many mistakes, because I'm trying to do the right thing. I think we are designed to do the right thing. And I think another thing I was designed to do was to make music. So here are some clips of me making music in the in-between stage of sobriety and recovery, and me just enjoying what I do, and that's what helped make the album. There's surviving and there's living with connection. There is speaking and there's speeding with inflection. There is walking and there's running in direction. There is thinking and there's voting for election. You gotta act to impact the world around. There are facts and there's checking if they are sound. There is running and there's speaking with proper noun. There is hiding and there's chasing yourself to town. There is thinking with conviction and then you know. There is hesitating before you go. Once you go and then you better never stop. It's a race against yourself before the clock. It's a race against yourself before the clock. It's a race against yourself before you're not. It's a race against yourself before you let them in. No, it's a race against yourself for you alone to win. trying to find the comfort from the cold, but I need to wake up. Ready to wake up unless I put an alarm clock on my life. Then I'm ready to hit snooze till I lose for life. People come closer to me. 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 I'm not embarrassed of your love anymore. I'm not embarrassed by your love anymore. I'm not embarrassed by your love anymore. I'm not embarrassed by your love anymore. This is where I ask for y'all's help. I would love for y'all to help me out and repeat after me. It's coming in a second. Here we go. Y'all ready? Yo, my name is Lea Fulton. I'm very tired because I just learned all of the modes on the G major scale, and I want to play them for you. Apparently, they will help me with guitar and music, and I'm sure they will, help me with soloing and just understanding the neck board. I'm still working on learning about the application, but I just want to show you what I've learned tonight. I've learned a lot of the scales tonight, so this is kind of testing my knowledge, just kind of getting a last practice in before I go to sleep, but this is what I got. So on the G scale, this is Ionian, or the major scale, and it goes like this. Alright, then Dorian is the
I walked out the room to see the man that I was. Oh, I picked up a broom to sweep up the mess that I made. I saw your smile, it's been a while since I've seen that glimmer in your eyes. I want to wake her up proud, just to see how we feel. Only this time we won't make it to meal. Ooh, once we're together, we can sit down and stop feeling this weather. All the lightness comes light, then all the darkness starts.
Music has always been there for me. During the times that I was lost, music felt good. It felt good to play, and at first it gave me validation when other things didn't. I think when I could sing and my friends were like, wow, that's really good, I immediately sought that attention, and I was eager to be like that. I was eager to be like the musicians I saw on TV that had a ton of people in front of them. So I think initially it was very selfish. I just wanted to be seen, I wanted to be heard, I wanted people to notice me, and I wanted to be respected. And so then I think listening to music was always fun, and it was just something I could be obsessed about. So I think early on, that's the best that I can say about it. But as I got sober and still recognized that I had a talent in music, I wanted to create an album to finish something. I really believe that I have a gift from God to create music, and so I wanted to finish what I started. And I feel like God took a hold of my gift when I was using it for my own motives and said, no, Lee, let's use this to help other people. And it sounds self-centered, but I truly believe today that my music can be good for others. And so the best I can say about it is that God took control. You have anything to say, Heather?
Woo!
We're gonna do a little vlog.
A little vlog? How can I see myself on it?
You can flip the camera forward and turn it towards yourself.
Wow.
Try it.
Oh, there I am. Ooh, that light.
See, now Heather's
nice.
Heather's in the picture of my life, so what do you want to say?
About what?
About God and music and me. Let's see, a specific question. How have you seen my recovery since meeting me?
Since meeting Lee, he kind of briefly told me that he was an alcoholic, and I completely remember like just laughing it off, and because I only know Lee in his sobriety. I never knew Lee in his addiction. I never knew the crazy Lee everybody would talk to me about. And so I just thought it was a lie and a joke. Not necessarily a lie, but I didn't know addiction was that serious. And then once we started dating, he elaborated on it a lot more, and he would go to meetings, and I noticed he was going to meetings almost like every night or multiple times a week, and I was like, oh, okay, this is serious. Like, he has to go to these meetings, or he chooses to go to these meetings, and that it's really important to him to stay sober. And I was just 100% supportive of his recovery and the recovery that he'll be doing for the rest of his life, and just really honored to not have the stigma in my mind of what the world may think about an alcoholic or an addict. Or I'm glad to have that broken from my mind. So yeah.
Amen. That's good for now. Hey there. It was crazy watching back through all those photo booths, so I thought I'd go ahead and just make a final photo booth. I had no clue that those videos would be used for a documentary. Thank you for watching it. You now know way more about my life than you would normally meet with someone for the first time. And I think the cool thing about all of those videos is that they were really only one take. They were really raw and vulnerable, and you got to see the disease, the delusion, the inconsistencies, and just the malintentions, the weird perceptions that addiction can bring. And I hope that through this documentary and through my music coming out, that you can learn more about myself, but also about the disease of addiction, and most importantly about God. God allows me to speak freely and know that what I say can make a positive impact on the world now. I believe that I'm rooted in God's truth, not my truth. There's only one objective truth, and it's that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins. And I hope that this video can reflect my life and how he's changed my life and how he can change yours too if he hasn't already. God bless, and I hope that you can bridge the gap to God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Peace.
Took a walk down the memory lane. Oh, how I've changed. Recordings of my mindscape have rearranged. Open the big door for the life that I needed to live. Only can keep my promises if I'm willing to give. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Needed to get my sobriety on, yeah. It's so bright. Needed to give up my life before and my pride. This is all related to you. Are you listening? Are you listening? Tell me what you're waiting for. I come a little closer now. I bridging the gap.
I'm now picking up.
Tell me what you're waiting for. I come a little closer now. I
Hey, beautiful.
bridging the gap.
You ready to play a gig?
So,
Are you
What is going on here?
here now? Whoa,
I got.
are you clear now? Whoa, are you here now? Whoa, are you clear now? Tell me what you're waiting for. I come a little closer now. I bridging the gap. Tell me what you're waiting for. I come a little closer now. I bridging the gap.
You know, Dr. Busey so gracefully allowed me to do my presentation in this format, which is different, so I figured, let me just go ahead and be as different as possible, so I brought it back to the old flip book.
I should say though, this is a riff on Bob Dylan. I don't know if it'll be obvious, but
It sure is,
that's the intent.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and explain that as well. Dr. Busey showed me this video of Bob Dylan making a music video where you could tell it was just made up on the spot. He just had his lyrics and he just was able to throw them out. Have you seen it? Yeah, and it was just all in one take, so I figured let me go ahead and do the same thing. So, bridging the gap, a redemption story. One thing that cut out at the very beginning of the clip was that this documentary started out is just a way for me to promote the album and an excuse for me to include my album in, you know, my 60/50 project. You know, I met somebody who was doing their 60/50 on a women's genital mutilation conference, and that was her passion. And I thought, oh, I want to do it on my passion. At first, my 60/50 was going to be on something a little different. But the fact that it turned into this, you know, I realized, okay, let me try and
somehow solidify this all together, if the documentary didn't do it itself. So I went ahead and just made some of these slides. These are all drawings that I doodle in class, and it'll kind of make sense a little bit more that I like to, kind of like it reminds me of the Native Americans who use every single part of the bowl. Like all of the art that I've used, I wanted it to kind of fit in this. So those are some just...
So just from an instructor's point of view, are you also paying attention when you doodle?
Yeah, I try my best. There are some moments where I do indulge in the doodle. That's for sure.
As long as your mind's engaged.
Right, definitely. I try. And so I'll go ahead and walk around and let y'all see some of these doodles. These are just kind of where my mind goes if I just make just miscellaneous drawings. I just start off with something and then I just keep expanding from there, and I feel like it has its own little theme. And so I'll just continue on. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And so yeah, those were just my class note doodles. And so the next point I wanted to touch on is, what was the process of making this project like? So I could talk about the process of my album, but I'm going to specifically talk about the process of this 60/50 in general. So meeting with Dr. Busey, I immediately knew that I wanted to work with him just because I just felt like I connected with him in our class on disinformation in the media. I just liked his perspective, and I could tell that he believed in me from a comment on my paper when he said this could turn into a thesis one day, and it had to do with music, and it started from there. And so I figured I'm not going to do the thesis track, let me just do a 60/50 and finish school so that I can be a musician after this. That's really what I wanted to do. That decision was made after I had a breakdown with Heather, and I'm like, I don't know, should I be a doctor or something? And she's like, I think your dream is to do music. So, here we are. So then it, like Dr. Busey mentioned, it kind of changed paths, and from me just talking about my album to my entire recovery process, because my album is so much about my recovery process. And so, accumulation of all those things, it turned into an album promotion, but also just about my life, and then the creative process in general. And I'll kind of touch on that a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide here. So I went ahead and got some themes. I took away some themes from just my final project. And so theme number one of this project is change. Obviously, as you could see from the beginning clips versus the end clips, it started off with me just depressingly sitting in the bathroom floor of my parents' house, barely able to finish a song, to now being able to finish music videos and finishing an album. Really, it's not easy for me to do that, just because creatively I just want to do so many different things. So to have the discipline, for me, directs back to God, and I'm so open about that today, because that's the only reason I'm standing sober in front of y'all today. And so I went ahead and got creative with it and put some change on there if y'all didn't get the pun.
I'm sure it explains it.
Yeah, change. All right. So the next theme I got is perspective, and I got some googly eyes for you. So I think this, if I can shake it, a little movement for you guys. But my perspective in my life has absolutely changed, and I want my music to help reflect that as well. Just how I used to think that coming to class high and not being sober most of the time was acceptable. I thought that was absolutely okay to do that. And I learned through recovery and getting sober and meeting, people that have been in the same place that I have, that isn't normal and that's not okay. And so that was a perspective shift for me. And, you could even see in the progression of the videos in the music section of the documentary that at first I'm dancing around down the street, which is still a part of me, but I've toned it down a little bit, I'm still coming back to earth. Dr. Busey,
don't tone it down, man.
I appreciate that. So there we go. Thank you. So my perspective is still changing. I feel like I'm still gaining clarity in my life. And as of this Sunday, I'm 3 years sober. So this is coming in such a accumulation. So that was the second perspective, theme that I took away from this project. The third perspective I got was spontaneity. As you'll see, even later in this presentation, I have something that I was inspired by a dream last night to share with you guys. And so I went ahead and just thought, okay, I have some toothbrushes here, let me tape them on. I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's colorful, why not? It's bold. I think a part of my art is about that. And I think, a lot of us go into, a large art museum and see a huge poster of some random paint and you think to yourself, well, I could do that. But I think the thing is with art is that you didn't do that, and they did. And I think artists dedicate their lives to doing the ridiculous things that don't seemingly make sense, but is so liberating, for me to do this. And it could encourage someone else, like, hey, I'm standing up here for my final project to get my master's degree, holding toothbrushes taped to a piece of paper.
But it's minty fresh.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, we got something going on here. This is all scripted. So yeah, that's the spontaneity of it. And then, putting this documentary together, a lot of, Heather and I filming, I was like, okay, let me take my camera out now and then figure out later how it works. And that's a big part of the creative process for me, is just making something fun and figuring out later how it's gonna work. I don't need to know right now. And all those clips mostly were made spontaneously, and that to now be able to show it to you guys was really cool for me. All right, let's see what I got next. So the next one I got is love. I couldn't help but bring this up, that a huge part of my story is just the love in my life. I love all of you guys. This is so cool to be able to share this with you. Especially Heather. We are getting married very soon, in 13 days actually. And so, this became a huge part of my documentary as well, and my story. I think, the moment that, I fell in love with Heather and asked her to marry me, I just felt like I was following God's will. Just in His holy matrimony, man and wife, to be able to, complete, a part of me. That's what recovery allows for me, and that's what just doing the right thing encourages, me as well. And it's hard really to describe, this theme, but I hope you could see just throughout this documentary just the love in my life that helped me get to where I needed to be. And before, I rejected that love. I didn't want to accept it. And today, now that I'm accepting, God's love, it allows me to accept y'all's love. And so that leads me to the final slide for y'all. I'll go ahead and put this, let's see if I can do it like that. Jesus Christ, the stars are brightly shining, from Silent Night song. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Mom for those 2 books now that I brought. So the culmination, thank you, that's it. The culmination of all of this is the fact that, I turned my life over to Jesus Christ and I have been saved. And I hope that this video, this documentary that I showed you, shows you how that happened. And it's not my job to force it, but it's my job, I believe, today to share that. And hopefully for others to see that as well for themselves. So I hope this, for every single one of you. And so now I have just a couple things. This is just what I planned on doing today. The first part is just what the gospel is, the good news, and this is what has saved me. So this is from the book God Is Not Dead. And it's a really good book that's helped me learn a lot about God, even from a science perspective. And it shares that the good news announces that God became man in Jesus Christ. He lived the life we should have lived, and in our place, He died the death we should have died. 3 days later, He came back to life to verify His identity as the Son of God, and now He offers full pardon and forgiveness to all who will believe and turn from the darkness of sin and the futility of trying to save themselves. Those who turn and put their trust in Him will never be ashamed. Today, that makes more sense than it ever did. When I first read it, I thought it was really random, but today it's what roots me in my life and gives me clarity and sobriety. And the final thing that I want to read with you guys before I will turn it over to questions is that God gave me a dream last night. And I woke up this morning and I was like, whoa, that was a good dream. And I would say the majority of my dreams are fairly dark. I wake up and I'm like, wow, I didn't feel scared in the dream, but that was kind of scary. But this dream was really positive, and the fact that it was timed for today is perfect. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. I have a dream journal. Every night I write my dreams, and a big part of bridging the gap is, my album bridges the gaps to my dreams and reality. A lot of my songs come from my dreams. Bridging the gap is bridging the gap between my addiction and sobriety, bridging the gap between me to you, bridging the gap between spirituality and academia. I just love to combine those things. So this is my dream journal from December 9th, and I'll just go ahead and read it. Wait a minute. No, we're at December 10th. Okay. Living in apartments that aren't great for me. By the way, this is a dream, so you're just going to have to follow me here. I look in the sky. Instead of seeing the moon, I see Earth. I hung out with people who smoked weed in the dream, and I smoked with them. I found myself thanking them for giving me hits, even though I didn't want them. I couldn't turn them down. I felt apathetic to conversation. It was hard for me to talk and express myself. I was making myself sicker. I decide to fly up to Earth. I fly past it, and then I hover down until I land on Antarctica. I'm sitting on the entire continent. When I get closer, I realize that the world was replica size, like the size of a big van. So I'm flying up to Earth and I realize, oh, it's only, the size of a van. So I'm sitting on top of Antarctica. And I get to see the northern lights, which started off as a purple hue over an iceberg. It was the most beautiful light I had ever seen. Then the land starts transforming around me into Africa. People drive past me on a mini four-wheeler, and someone passes me on one. I hop on it, and I'm going through luscious green terrain with them. And then we stop somewhere. And then my time has come to fly back to where I am at. I set the coordinates into the mini Earth that I was on, and I'm rocketed back to my own planet. I get a tour of everything wrong with our world. There's people working out excessively. There's people arguing over money. And then the hotel I'm supposed to be staying at, which by the way was chopped in half so you could completely see inside of it for some reason. I'm waiting to check in, and the check-in guy is arguing with the girl trying to make a reservation because they used to date. He said he could eject her from the hotel if he wanted to, and I look behind me and he has two big ejectors. Some device that can sling a person out of the residence if the tenant doesn't like them. So that was the dream, and I was like, wow, that was really beautiful. And the takeaways for me was that, especially in America, we have this dependence on sin. And we are shackled to things that aren't God, like working out, like money, like relationships, with each other. Now, don't get me wrong, relationships with each other are good, but when we begin to match all of our emotions to that person, and you see breakups and the person's devastated to the point where they want to kill themselves. That, as well as, my addiction to drugs, addiction to vanity, finances, all of those things God can help us out with. And I feel like when I was rocketed to Earth, it was both a metaphor for me being rocketed back to Earth, where I could then be a part of life, but also, I could see that as being rocketed into heaven. And God has to offer so much for me. He has to offer me to be able to live in the world with you guys, as well as hope, fun, exploration, and peace. And that's all I got for y'all. Thank you so much.
All right, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes for questions, and then we'll have about 10 minutes for songs. Anybody?
Yeah, I could probably ask you questions all day, Lee. One of the things I found really kind of interesting watching the documentary is you see kind of the parallel between the creative journey and the recovery journey, both on the creative side, but then I don't know how to put it, the kind of the regimented side. And I really liked watching you sit there and your journey of your music. It was, oh wow, look here, I'm playing with this voco recorder, which I've never heard of before. I'm sorry, I'm not a music guy or whatever. And then I'm playing with this loop pedal up here in this performance, and then I'm sitting there and doing these scales or something like that because that's going to make me a better musician. And so you're sitting there and you're doing this regimented work, and at the same time it's a completely creative process. And I've never thought of the recovery journey that way before. There's this work that a person has to do. You do this step, and then you do this step, and then you do this step, and then you do this step, and then, oh wait, by the way, along the way, sometimes there's going to be a spiritual experience. Right. You can't control that. It's just a creative process of God. Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting to be respond to that in any way, shape, or form you want, I guess.
Definitely. No, I totally agree with you. Just like putting the work in, knowing that one day it will pay off, and having the faith that it will pay off. You know, it's really cool that you took away from that I was able to be regimented as I got sober, because that was something I could never string together, you know, a day of sobriety even. You know, I couldn't have the regiment to do that. And then, you know, once I got sober, I could begin to do everything else. I could begin to practice. You know, it all started with my, you know, evening routine that I learned in step 11 to, you know, pray and meditate, in step 10 to reflect on the ways that I can just help someone else. And so, for me to be able to practice music, I think, is a part of my recovery because it grounds me in something to practice. So yeah, I really like that takeaway too. And I hope that's a good, I guess, comment on what you noticed.
Thank you.
Other questions? What's the main thing you learned from all this?
Ooh. The main thing I learned from all this, from this entire project, or just life?
Since the 60-50.
Since the 60-50. For me, it's just trusting God. That's my biggest takeaway is recognizing that, you know, the more life that I live, the busier I get, and with that, I feel like, okay, you know, a part of me wants to think, oh man, the crazier life gets, the more spinning plates I have to deal with. But that's not the case at all. I can just surrender and trust that God will help me out. That's really the biggest takeaway I got. Yeah, Colton.
Hey, what happens when you're mad at God, and how does that affect you?
That's good. My goal with that, what I've done recently, you know, in my prayer, is I'll just kind of like throw a temper tantrum with God and just let him know that I'm mad at him. And then like all of a sudden I believe that I begin to see myself from his perspective, and I just look like a tired toddler that's mad at his parents for, you know, a reason that really they were trying to help me out. And like I just, you know, try and find that calm and meditate and try and see from his perspective, what am I mad about? Because typically, you know, when I get distressed, which in my addiction was all the time, because it was always an excuse to use again. Today, when I get mad, you know, I just try and trust and believe that, you know, God is always good and he doesn't want to do me any wrong. And then I can begin to see, okay, that person did make a mistake, but they didn't know they were hurting me. Or, you know, I couldn't run any errands today because, you know, I got a flat tire, but, you know, that's because, you know, life isn't always supposed to work in my favor, and I'm supposed to actually learn things. And God doesn't make my life easy. He just makes my life manageable and able for me to move through those trials.
Great. In the interest of time, we better move to the songs.
Sure.
We've only got about 10 minutes.
Definitely. So the last couple of songs I got for you, the first song is called Hungover, and I wrote it when I went home and visited my parents. And I was sober, but it reminded me of all the times that I used to sneak home after I wasn't sober and try to get home, you know, late so that they wouldn't know. And, you know, while I'm saying that, I just, you know, want to thank my parents so much for driving up here all the way from Houston yesterday to see me, and just really appreciate all of you guys. And then the song is going to kind of hopefully seamlessly segue into a song I wrote called Water in the Waves. Actually, I wrote it when, you know, that music video, Sandy of Me Underwater, we were at the Cayman Islands, and I was able to write this song, and it is about God and how he saved me, and hopefully you can see as well how not only the lyrics, but just the way the song sounds, you can hear the progression. And I don't think there's any better way of finishing this by playing music, so I'll just go ahead and stop talking now.
We're gonna hear some Ionian in this.
I don't know if there's Ionian in this one. All right. Hope you enjoy. Trying to find my way home. I'm drunk and all alone. I'm kinda high and faded. I don't know where I am. I see my gate to my house. I can't wake my parents up, so I sneak in, grab some munchies, creep up the stairs and lock my bedroom door behind me. So I sneak in, grab some munchies, creep up the stairs and lock my bedroom door behind me. I wake up so hungover, I can't wake my parents up. Oh, I wake up so hungover, I really need to throw up. Sitting in math class, my friend asks me, do you want to smoke some weed tonight? I said no, I only smoke on the weekends. He says that's kinda lame. Okay, maybe we'll see. We're walking over to the hookah lounge, sparking up on the balcony. I feel a warmness go through me. Have a drink or two, don't remember the rest. It doesn't even matter if I fail that test. It's late enough, it's time to go. So I sneak in, grab some munchies, creep up the stairs and lock my bedroom door behind me. So I sneak in, grab some munchies, creep up the stairs and lock my bedroom door behind me. So I sneak in and I creep up and I lock my bedroom door behind me. So I sneak in, grab some munchies, creep up the stairs and lock my bedroom door behind me. I wake up so hungover, I can't wake my parents up. Oh, I wake up so hungover, I really need to throw up. The song's called Water and Waves. Sitting by the shore, thinking about the war. Was my participation worth it for the ones I love, or did I lose it all? Thinking about tomorrow and where I'm supposed to be, praying on my knees for the strength to carry on. I'm still learning how to be the man I want to be, and not the man that I was. I'm still learning how to see every opportunity sitting in front of me, watching the water and the waves coming and going Watching the water touch the sun, feeling the breeze open, feeling the ease hoping, and I'm still learning how to be the man I want to be, and not the man that I was. I'm still learning how to see every opportunity sitting in front of me. I'm still learning how to be the man I want to be, and not the man that I was. I'm still learning how to see every opportunity sitting in front of me. Oh, the way you move me, and the way you move the tide, you make me feel alive, you make me feel alive. Oh, the way you touch me, and the way you bring me down, you bring me all around, you bring me all around. Now I'm still learning how to be. 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 And I'm still learning how to be the man I want to be, not the man that I was. And I'm still learning how to see every opportunity sitting in front of me. And I'm still learning how to be the man I want to be, not the man that I was. And I'm still learning how to see every opportunity sitting in front of me. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you all so much for coming.
All right, thanks everyone. Unfortunately, we've got another presentation coming in. But
How, wonderful. So thank you for the opportunity.
sure. All right, here we go.
I think.
You only tripod? We need
I'll try. He does have the other one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's good.
Looking sharp today.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good.
All right. Yeah, Brian. It's only bust out this week.
Oh, you're right.
Very across the soil. Lee,
Yes, sir.
that's in case.
Taylor, like 116 or something?
Nice.
Thanks.
I got 114 myself.
Oh,
I've had it for
nice.
like 10 years. I love it. No, 414. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Are these notes for me?